Good evening, everyone. As we wait on people to enter the Zoom webinar here, I'm going to show a really quick video, and then we'll introduce your panelists. All right, we'll be getting started in about 1 minute. Give everyone 1 extra minute to log on. All right, let's get started. I'm not sure why there wasn't audio on the video, but you guys, everybody can hear me right now, right? You hear me? All right. Welcome to this event. This is a very, very special event that we put together. We have a great panel, a great team, and I'm very excited to really hear their thoughts and learn from them and learn a little bit about leadership and what it takes. So first off, I want to thank our sponsor, Patterson Dental. Patterson is just unbelievable. A partner with us. They do an amazing job of helping getting the word out. And this is not a sales presentation at all. We won't talk about anything about sales. This is all information that's going to help you in your practices. So I do want to thank them for helping us put this on. Now I want to introduce you to our panel. Our panel tonight will feature, first off, it's going to feature Mila Givens. Mila Givens is someone who has truly played a role, every role in the dental office. I think everything but a dentist, right, Mila? She started as an admin in a dental lab and worked her way up to a manager, to a consultant. Then she was owned her own practice, and now she's actually COO of a small DSO. And she is also a fortune coach. She is from the Northern California area, and she'll be telling a little bit about her story and some more information, some things that's really important to her about leadership. And the second person I would like to introduce is Dr. Abusaid. Dr. Abusaid is from San Antonio. She came to America at 8 years old from Lebanon. She went to dental school in 2009, and talk about a diverse background. She has worked in about every type of practice. She has worked in the small town practices, the small practices, but also she has worked in the big city practices, and she's worked in big corporate practices as well. She's going to share her insights and stories and great information. And then the last is Dr. Alfe. Dr. Alfe, sorry, is from Chicago, and she comes to us with 25 years of experience. She is a dentist, and she practiced cosmetic dentistry, and she also has done startups. She has had a huge background. She's also an MBA, and if there's an initial that you can get after your name, she probably has it. So welcome, everybody. You can take yourselves off mute if you'd like. All right. And also, as your moderator, like my name is Todd King, and I'm here for you, the audience. You guys feel free to ask any questions throughout the event. All you gotta do is there's a little chat box. The speakers probably won't have a lot of time to look at it, but I will make sure your questions get answered and make sure that and they see that they're the questions you're asking, and we'll make sure you have everybody's contact information as well. So why are we doing this? First off, I'm going to say one little thing and I'm going to get us started. I'm doing this because this is a very special topic for me. Some of you may know my wife is from Columbia. She is a office manager for Dr. Liza Wakeham in Washington, PA. And I know that some of the hurdles and battles and every day that she goes through, and I come home, I mean, every day she comes home and tells me maybe how she was treated or how, people don't, just different things. And I'm not going to go into all this, but that's why I really wanted to put this on, to really talk about leadership and talk and bring three of the most successful leaders that are women and minority leaders as well. So I'm going to start this off. I'm going to ask a couple questions, and then everybody on can ask questions as well. All right, Mila, I'm going to give you the first question. What are the general belief systems, or what are the general belief systems that you must have to be successful?
I would say the most general belief system to be successful is to understand and acknowledge and accept that your self-esteem is defined by you, yourself. There are a host of people who are going to have challenges with their beliefs about who you might be. You can't fetter your own mind with the beliefs of other people. You really have to be comfortable with yourself and communicate effectively to whoever it is that you are in rapport with. As an African American, Filipino woman in leadership, believe me, I have had my fair share of challenges. But I can say, and I can say this with a host of excitement, now more than any other time in the world is the opportunity for anyone who is of a minority or female to really create the life of your dreams. Unfortunately, we suffered a lot of atrocities in the past year. But what that did was put a monstrous light on the things that we know that we need to change. Okay. Everyone in this country and the world is now very much aware that, oh, this systemic racism, it's still here. Yes, unfortunately, it still is. Oh, so women aren't being treated equally in the workplace? Yes, it still is. Diversity and inclusion repertoires in major corporations are becoming at the forefront of any progressive corporation in this world. Not just this country, not just this state, but in this world. And as leaders and minority leaders, we have an opportunity to carve a new path with the support of good people, because I generally believe that everyone is a good person. I think that everyone has some elements of what it is to be kind. But it's not their fault, honestly, that they may have some limiting beliefs around who you might be or what you're capable of. And you shouldn't look at that as in any way, a slight against who you might be, because your self-worth, again, is your own. Communication is the key, rapport is the key, and what you choose to believe about yourself and other people is really going to be the foundation of success, not only for your practice, but for your life. Now, I can go on forever,
Yeah.
but I'll stop right there.
Well, thank you. Dr. Abusaid, you have such a diverse background. You've started in a bunch of different practices. What are some of the challenges that you've seen women specifically face?
Well, as far as women are concerned, I kind of believe, like Mila, you kind of carve your own path. You don't let words affect you unless you let them affect you. So there's been situations, I'm Lebanese. I have an Arabic last name where people may walk in and say, I'm surprised I can understand you. And you just kind of smile and say, well, I'm glad you can understand me. How can I help you? Those are some of the scenarios that I face, but I don't take it personally. Kind of like what Mila said, I take it as a job for me to educate them and to help them see. Because there's people who have not been living in a small town. They've never been outside that small town. They've never experienced other their cultures. And I want to be that positive person from that culture that they can experience.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Dr. Alfie, can you maybe explain to us, how would you recommend some of our viewers, maybe that are female or minorities, how do they get support as they're growing their business, or maybe they're starting a brand new business? Well, what kind of advice would you give them, being someone that's been all the way from startups to very, very successful?
That's a great question, Todd. The reality is, I think that most of us who have achieved some success in our careers, we're lucky enough to seek out mentors very early in our careers and expose yourself to as many different types of groups that you can, because when you are ready, that old adage, which when the student is ready, the teacher appears, is quite true. So if you constantly, keeping with this theme of keep your mind open to possibilities and opportunities, they will present themselves, and lead with a giving hand. So even if you're at the start of your career, there's something you can do to help others. And if you constantly come from that sort of a viewpoint, you'll be allowing yourself to bring other people into your life who you can then use to help you get to your next position as well. And, I think that the biggest challenge most of us faced when we're about 5 to 6 years out of school is sometimes we were trying so hard to prove ourselves, we lost some of our humility. And it's not until you get a little bit older and a little bit wiser, and again, having great mentors, both clinical as well as, I was lucky enough to start working with a coach very early in my career, about 5 to 6 years out of dental school. And that made all the difference in the world for me, because having somebody who, I often describe us coaches as, we're your cheerleader when you need it, and we'll also kick you in your butt when you need it. Sometimes you don't know which to expect. That's why we're here, because we help people see their blind spots. And so just being open to making as many connections as you can. Dentistry can be a very isolating profession, especially if you have a solo practice. So get out there, meet tons of people from different groups. Don't close yourself off to any opportunities, because you might find the right relationship that will click. And then you can have that person in your life to help you get to your next stage.
Awesome. That's great. Let's dive into, and whoever wants to take this can, let's dive into interoffice communication and how specifically we've talked about in the broad range, right? We've talked about how they can find people to help them in their leadership, but let's talk about in the office. How do you, as a minority or as a woman, how do you handle your team, or what's some of the best advice you guys could each give? Dr. Alfie, go ahead and
I'll go first. So I think that probably the best advice I can give to young female business owners, because as a dentist who's a female, in general, our teams are all made up of women. And when you're a younger woman dentist, if you take over a practice or you buy in as a partner, or even if you're starting out as an associate, you tend to, because as females, I think we want to be very inclusive, and you can run the risk of becoming too friendly with the other team members. Now, I'm not saying be standoffish, that's not it at all, but you need to start to establish a certain relationship, especially if this is a practice that you expect to be an owner in at some point, where the team knows that you still are in their corner, as their leader, even if you're not the owner, but that line can get very blurred, and often we're the biggest cause of it, because a lot of us, we want everyone to like us. And as I got older, I realized it's more important that people respect me than like me. Now, normally you can't really, I think, respect people if you don't like them a little bit, but I'm not there to be their friend. I'm there to lead them. I'm there to be their sounding board about what's going on in the office, whatever I can do to help support them. But try not to cross that line. I have too many girlfriends who are dentists that have fallen into that trap where they were buddies with their team, and their team would come to them with things that I hate to generalize, but I would be wildly surprised if they would go to a male boss with some of the personal questions or concerns or asks. And so I think that just establishing that, always be friendly but not familiar. There's a fine line between that. And it's the same with your patients too, but definitely as the leader of a team, usually full of other women.
I'm going to ask you a deeper question just for the audience here. When you say, give us an example of what maybe that you feel like that, that they've asked for, that maybe that they wouldn't have asked for a male leader or a male person in their office.
Well, I have a girlfriend that one of her team members came and asked her to co-sign her car loan.
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah, Mila, that's the reaction I have when she
Okay.
told me.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. You know, but just to piggyback on
Here's
what
the thing.
Gerilyn is,
She did it.
yeah. Oh, that's the,
Yeah.
for, I don't know, 22 years.
Yeah.
And I have to tell you, because and this is just me. I already realized that, okay, my face and my persona is going to come off a little bit differently as the leader of the team. So, you know, my father, in my opinion, my greatest mentor, because he made it very clear to me as I sent me out into the world. He's like, kid, it's a big, beautiful world. You can choose to see the best in everyone, which I really hope you do, but you are a woman and you are brown. So get what you really want in life, not what you can have. Okay. Now, knowing that as a leader of mostly male teams, I've had male teams throughout most of my career. Men are a lot easier, honestly, to deal with, but keeping your persona really stern to a point to where it's like, okay, well, don't mess with that one because I mean, she's definitely the leader. You know, it's a learned skill, but I think I've just followed through with that throughout all of the practices that I've owned over the past couple of years. You know, it's like you are the leader. There's a certain persona that is expected of you, and it's not just because you're a woman. It's not just because you're a minority. You are their mentor, and you have to take that position. You are the icon of their success, and you want to drive them, and you want to constantly empower them. But goodness gracious, if somebody asked me to sign a car loan, I just don't know what I would do. Jesus.
Let me ask you that. I'm going to ask some tough questions here for everybody. When you were in 1986, I think you told me you were starting as an admin in a dental lab. Did you picture yourself ever being where you are now? Did you have that vision, or
Absolutely. I knew it then.
you knew it then?
Yeah. No, it was
Tell us
my
about
vision
that.
then. I mean, a lot of that was, okay, you know, let's look at historically what women have been compensated in the past. Okay. I came out business degree from, you know, Menlo College, took a temp assignment as a dental laboratory admin person, waiting to get a job at Alex Brown and Sons to become a financial analyst. That was a temp assignment, really, is what it was. But I was fortunate enough to be working with a Swedish entrepreneur who was just brilliant and in a laboratory with some of the best prosthodontists, the major dentists of that day, that would come down during their lunch hour. And again, it was still good old boys, you know, how's your gal? That whole kit and caboodle. They talk about how their gals couldn't do this, couldn't do that, blah, blah, blah. And I was still book smart, and I had a mathematics and engineering background. So Bo saw that, who was the owner of the practice, and he really taught me the mechanics of dentistry. And then I realized that the dentists that were coming down had no business sense, like whatsoever. You know what I mean? So I knew then there was an opportunity, but I didn't realize that the challenges between, you know, what women were compensated at that time were going to be so great, really. So after working with Bo for about 5 years, and by the way, he's still a wonderful dental mentor of mine. I talk to him even to this day, you know. I worked for a dental office for 6 months. No, I think it was 3 months. It was 3 months. This gentleman hired me as his gal to handle his front desk, which was okay. All right. I took his production from $22,000 a month to $93,000 a month in 3 months, just using basic business savvy. This is not, I mean, practice running a business it's in my blood. It's not that challenging. And he gave me a fabulous bonus and a thank you and sat me down and said, "You're the best gal I've ever had. This is for you." He gave me a coffee mug with a thank you on it. And inside that little cup, I had a $50 gift certificate to Macy's.
A $50. Oh my gosh.
Okay. I politely said thank you very much. I gave him my 2-week notice, and then I wrote my business plan and opened my company when I was 27 in 1994. I have never had a W-2 since then. You know, when I opened it in 94, I had a client list as long as my arm because I had been working with dentists for so many years. And, you know, you had to, it was needs based. And, you know, you also have to work with their limiting beliefs around what a dental consultant can do. So I just kind of said, look, you know, hey, at a base of X thousand dollars a month, I will work on a percentage of collections over your break even. How about that? It was a good deal until they had to pay me like $5,000 to $10,000 a month, and then it became a great deal. So I changed my structure. So yes, I knew then from that day, it was like there's got to be a path that I can carve. And in that time, I have had, you know, 2 or 3 young women that have worked with me with my other clients. And then I think it was in 2000, I decided it was time for me to walk the walk. And that's when I started buying practices. So if I have anything that I would want to say to the young people out there, or the women or minorities that have a vision for yourself, stay consistent with that vision. But if you really want to see it come to fruition, make sure in that vision that you are willing to contribute, give back, carve that path, but make it a path that someone can follow and be inspired in just the same way.
Wow, what an inspiration. Dr. Abusaid, you're the last person here to graduate from dental school. So tell me a little bit, most recent dental school, what did you learn about leadership or setting yourself up when you were coming through school?
It's funny you
Not
asked.
school, not your post, not everything after school, just during school.
Yeah, well, I graduated in 2009 from Baylor College of Dentistry, and we were the first class to have more women than men in the class. So it's funny because you look at the composite pictures of all the graduating classes, and it's all male dominated, and then you see the pioneers, the 1 woman, 2 women, and then gradually you get to see more and more and more. And eventually now, you know, dentistry is a women's profession. So 60% of dentists under the age of 44 are women. So we're changing, definitely. As far as leadership is concerned in dental school, you don't learn a lot of leadership skills in dental school.
How did you learn yours?
But I do recommend, do definitely recommend, male or female, you need to take a leadership class. So I just finished up a leadership class actually last quarter. Some of the things that I learned, I actually have labels for now. Like I knew that I wasn't a self-promoter, but I didn't realize that was common in women. And it is, it's very common in women. Women, we won't apply for a job unless we meet 100% of what they're asking, whereas a male would apply for a job if they meet 60% of what they're asking. So it's things like that that now I'm aware of. And as a mother to 2 daughters, something that I'm hoping to change in them. And I think that that's extremely valuable. And then we always talk about, you know, the glass ceiling. Well, it's really not a ceiling, it's a labyrinth. We're constantly being bombarded with obstacles that we have to overcome. We're not just cruising right along and all of a sudden we hit that ceiling. I mean, if you talk to any female, whether in dentistry or in the corporate world, you're constantly being, you have obstacles you have to overcome. And that's where you surround yourself with your people, with a group of women who are strong, who can guide you, who can mentor you when you need it.
You mentioned something that I'd love for everybody to hear a little bit more about. You mentioned about your kids, getting out of dental school, and now being a coach, being a dentist. Tell us a little bit about that work-life balance. How do you manage that, and the expectation of that work-life balance?
I had one person tell me, and you know, sometimes people tell you something and it just clicks. And one person was asking me, why do you work? Well, I work because I love taking care of patients. I work to provide for my kids, to give them a better future than what I had. But in reality, we work for 2 reasons. We work to be able to do what we want to do, and we work to be able to not do what we don't want to do. So what that means is I work so I can take care of my family, so I can go on nice vacations, all those good stuff. But I also work so I don't have to spend my Saturday cleaning house. So I can hire somebody to clean house for me. So when you look at it in this way, what ends up happening is you take your 24 hours in a day and you start shifting it into things you actually enjoy doing, which in my case, spending kids with spending time with my kids and my family, and reading and all the other good stuff. So that's something that I'd want to stress, especially with the generations before us. Women were, you're the homemakers and all the Betty Crocker stuff, but we're not that anymore. We're in the workforce.
I love that. But
Don't be afraid to delegate stuff.
it's an old saying, time is more valuable than money, right? But I mean, it truly is when you can spend time with your family and everything else as well. Dr. Alfe, I know you would love to touch on this, because I know that's work-life balance has been huge for you over the years.
Or my lack thereof, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, I'm in a little different position. I didn't have children. And I used to, when I first started getting involved with teaching with dental groups, in addition to private practice, there were always, I would see the trends that he was mentioning, where there are more and more women in the audience, and I would get more and more of them coming up to me afterwards and saying, how do you find time to get ready to do these lectures and these hands-on courses, and you're running your practice? And I'd look at them and I'd say, well, do you have children? They'd say, yeah. I'm like, well, when you're getting your kids all their stuff done, I'm working on a lecture. Now, I'm not saying that as a mother who also practices couldn't do to the level that I did. Maybe they're much better time managers than I was, but for me, it was always a balance of, I loved what I did so much, and I do now, maybe even a little bit more. So I truly was blessed in that when I was at work or getting ready to do things for work, I wasn't thinking of it as my job. So I got a lot of pleasure out of that. So for other people who feel like they need to have a better work-life balance, I think for some of them, they may be feeling like they're not 100% fulfilled with what they're doing with their career. And so they're constantly looking to fill some kind of a void. And certainly if you have family obligations, that's going to take a bigger chunk of your free time away. And I found it very helpful with, I'm blessed at this point, my clients are all women. So like we just have a blast. And one of them, she was really feeling challenged, especially lately. We're feeling like she was considering it procrastination. And I said, okay, define that more for me. Tell me what that means. And she'd say something like, well, if I was spending time with my kids, we were like going for a walk because I could have been working out. So it wasn't really, a workout. And I said, well, maybe we need to reframe this. And, for me, procrastination is, instead of either spending time with your loved ones or working on work or going to work and doing work, you're scrolling through Facebook looking for the snarkiest comments ever. Like, that's procrastination for me. So I said, reframe it. And instead of thinking, I think especially as females, my friends who were women in corporate, in either dentistry or corporate jobs that are also moms, they would always say they struggled with, when they were at work, they felt like they should be at home. And when they were at home, they felt like they should be at work. And I think really just becoming more in tune with being totally 100% present with whatever it is that you're doing, giving it your all, and then having an end time in your brain where I'm going to do this for this set amount of time. I'm going to do it, full out, and then I'm going to move on to the next thing. And I'm going to give myself time throughout the day as well to just kind of do nothing, because you need to be able to recharge, especially now where we're in our area anyway, in Chicago, we're getting back to being in our houses all the time. They're closing down restaurants and bars and everything else again. And so making sure that you take time for yourself to allow yourself to do those 10 to 15 minute goofy things that put you in a better frame of mind, so that you can then jump back into whatever it is that you are doing wholeheartedly and appreciate what you've got. And, more than anything, I think that focusing on what we are grateful for, and getting that list as granular as possible. I won't take up too much more time, but those who know me know I was in a really bad bike accident about 10, 15 years ago. I got hit by a bicyclist. I was out running on the lakefront. I was knocked unconscious. My jaw got broken in 2 places. Half my face was ripped off. My hands were hamburger flaps. And I was still practicing and owned my business at the time. So as I was healing over the course of that period of time, my gratitude list went from the big things like, I'm grateful I have a house. I'm grateful I have a family. I'm grateful I have my friends. I'm grateful I have my career, to, hey, the first week that I could take a shower by myself, I was grateful I could shower by myself. I was grateful my best friend came over and basically took care of me for a full week because I couldn't do really anything for myself. And I was grateful that my team was so supportive because they still kept the office running when I was working staggered shifts because I couldn't work more than 4 hours at a time because I would get exhausted because my jaws were wired shut. And you never realize how exhausting it is to try to talk through clenched teeth. And think about, it's probably what everyone's dealing with right now with PPE stuff. You're talking through a barrier. It's much more tiresome physically, never mind emotionally and spiritually. So I really just focused on every little thing that happened and making sure that I never forgot that. So now on my gratitude list every day, I do say things like, I'm grateful we have running water. I'm grateful I have healthy food to eat, because 90% of the world doesn't have those things that we take for granted. And when you put yourself in that frame of mind, it becomes a lot easier to not stress so much about the delineations of your life and realizing that it's not ever going to be black and white. You have to find how to take joy out of whatever it is that you're giving your all to, because as Hiba said, that's why we work, to do the things we want and not to do the things that we don't want.
Absolutely. Mila, would you like to go and expand on that? Or
In terms of work-life balance, I,
Sure.
like Gerilyn, love what I do professionally. For me, it's actually relaxing to walk into one of those group practices with 6 dentists going, oh. For me, that's just like, it's like a nice happy run. Okay. For me, balance is I just need to have enough time so that I can get out into the woods and really just thank the universe, God, however you want to call it, for all the wonderful things that I have. And as she said, it is gratitude. Although I didn't have the fortune of raising children myself, my own children, I was able to help my brother raise 6 of his. So for me, being Auntie Mila was perfect. You get to see the kids like 6 times a year, put them away, still get to focus on your next practice, balance things out. For me, I would say that, the legacy that I would like to leave behind are really happy, healthy teams that are inspired to do something for themselves at some point in the future.
That's great. That is really good. Rhoda is she is the owner of a practice here in Pittsburgh, and she asked her husband, Dr. Kanji, she asked how to deal and lead older employees that have been there 25 years. I'm just meaning before she actually took over the practice, that employee was there. And she's asking what the panel would recommend to for them to like her and accept her and for what she's bringing to the office. I'd say respect probably is what she's looking for. How can she gain that respect and authoritative nature in that position? Dr. Abusaid, you want to start?
Sure. I actually, one of my first jobs, I was fresh out of college, out of dental school, and I worked with veterans. You can't ask them for respect, you earn their respect. So one of the things, your quality of work, they know your dedication to your patients, and how much you value dentistry. And you kind of have to tell them, things change in dentistry. Dentistry is a dynamic profession too. You're dealing with materials where I took over a practice where the doctor was working with amalgams. And now we have, different materials, maybe some say better materials. So just educate, be consistent, let them see your value. And when they see the practice is improving, they will come around and show some respect.
That's great. Bina asked, what leadership course do you recommend for business owners, dental business owners? Anybody can take that on.
Well, the MBA program that I went through, it's the Jack Welch Management Institute. For those of you that are from the East Coast, a lot of people know Jack Welch, but I grew up in Boston. So he was, taking care of GE, which is based out of Boston. So he was basically a demigod in our area. And I figured who better to learn from for honing my business skills than the gentleman that was voted the top CEO of the last century, than Jack Welch. And our program was heavy on leadership. So it was a very different kind of MBA program than, say, Harvard or MIT, which I think is much more into the finances and the numbers and the systems. And I learned all of that, but we spent a lot more time developing our leadership skills and learning how to develop leadership skills in our teams. They also have, if you don't want to take on that, 3-year commitment, which is understandable, especially when you're running a practice, but I know that they are doing smaller continuums.
Work-life
And one of
balance.
them is a leadership. Sorry?
There's a work-life balance.
Yeah, exactly. One of them is a leadership continuum, which I believe is just 3 courses, and it's all based on the initial leadership course, and then 1 or 2 others, which was probably organizational change and culture, which is very important right now. And I'm not sure what the 3rd one was, but there are a number of MBA programs and advanced degree programs out there that will do, either a 10-day course or a once-a-month course for a couple of months where you can delve into those skills. Hiba, I don't know where you did yours.
Yeah, I'm doing my MBA program as well. So I'm doing mine through Texas A&M here in Texas. So
yeah,
I just want to throw this out there, a little shameless promotion with Fortune, as you're all Fortune coaches as well. Obviously, as an entrepreneur, a dentrepreneur, however you would want to classify yourself, a lot of times you don't have the time to do that, right? So that's where a Fortune coach could come in, and they do coach the leadership side of it. That's the only thing I'm going to say. Maybe Mila can dive into a little bit more about how a Fortune coach could help with leadership, because it also goes into the next question. Alina Halusik asked, when do you recommend we get a coach in our career? What does a coach help do? And should you wait until you own a practice, or can you do it when you're an associate? So just give you a little background about Dr. Halusik. She grew up in a dental family. Her dad is an oral surgeon, and so she really very successful. So she is a dentist as well, but she just graduated recently, and she's been thinking about how she wants to progress into her career as an ownership.
Was that for me?
Sure.
Okay. Well, those are all really fabulous questions. And, we are all Fortune management coaches, and we do have leadership programs for new associates, which are really helpful at this time. Now, if you're thinking about buying a practice, getting yourself involved with a leadership program with one of the Fortune coaches is a one-on-one opportunity for you to discover who you want to be as a leader, and to have one of us support you in the leadership skills that are going to be right for you. At that point, you can create a team around your leadership, okay, which is ideal. When would it be ideal to have a coach? Whenever you are ready to have a coach. See, as a coach, we're here to support you, to help you realize your vision in a way that is going to work for you. Everyone is separate and unique. Everyone has separate cultures, separate backgrounds, separate wants, needs, desires, separate goals. Okay. In rapport with you will help you to become very honed in on what your vision is for yourself, for your practice, and for your life. And then we will work with you so that you can decide, how you want to create the ideal practice for yourself, from the day you open the doors to the day you close the doors and go on to something that's new. Okay. We're here for the entire life cycle of your career. So when would you like to start working with a coach? Whenever you would like to start working with one of us. There's over 110 of us, and we're all here to help you.
Christian, you were a consultant before. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So when you were a consultant, what's the difference between a consultant and a coach?
The difference between a consultant and a coach is truly that the consultant will give you very, very, I was in there evaluating the practice and giving you very strong direction as to how to strategically manage your practice. Okay. A Fortune coach wears 3 hats. We work as your coaches, which are helping to empower you to develop your leadership skills. And we all have a varied experience in managing, owning, directing practices. So we can help you with the systems that you need in order to grow your practice. We can help you make some better decisions about how you want to train your practice, your people, your team. We can help you make some decisions about what practice management software, equipment, tools you want to use for yourself. We can help you, guide you. You make the final decisions. Okay. So those are the two of the three hats that we wear. Gerilyn, you want to go into the last hat?
I thought you were going to throw that to Hiba.
Nah, I talk too much, so I figured I just
Also a business strategist. And so again, the reason that often dentists or any corporate person who wants to achieve a certain level of excellence in his or her career finds that working with a coach throughout their lifetime is very helpful, because as the business strategist, we're initially working with the client to figure out, okay, where do you want your practice in 1 year, 3 year, 5 years, 10 years? I know that as a new dentist, we're often not thinking about what is my exit strategy. And I'm not saying that whatever your vision for what you want your practice to be like right now is going to be exactly the same in 1 year, 3 year, 5 years. But often we get so busy with the busy stuff that we forget where we're headed. And that's why a coach can be very valuable, because we're always there to help you re-steer the boat when you're, going into the wind and the waves are crashing over, and realizing, hey, you know what? I thought I was going toward that island, but I realized I'm kind of going this way, but I'm really just paddling to stay alive at this point. Anyone feel like that on a daily basis in their practice? Maybe not every day, but there certainly are phases of our lives where you can tend to feel like the practice is out of my control. And you might not have the answer as to how do I get it back into control? Is it a matter that my team needs to be better trained and cross-trained and communication skills? Do we need to start focusing on a different clinical mix? Do I need to bring in an associate? Should I have specialists come in and start to do the things that I don't want to do so that we can raise our production level? And then I don't have to do what I'm not great at, and I can focus on the things that I am great at. Empowering the team, working with marketing to figure out how am I going to attract the kind of patients that I want to see. But I think you can start to see that until you're really crystal clear on what you want your practice to be like every day when you cross that threshold, you're never going to get there. You're just going to be putting out fires all the time. And even practices that aren't like high-end cosmetic practices, you may have an emergency-based practice. It doesn't mean you don't have a vision. It doesn't mean that you don't have a plan as to how many patients you want to treat each day, how much production you want to have, what kind of people you want to see, what you want your team to be doing, what kind of technology you want. So it's not as if Fortune only works with practices that are, $1 million practices that are only doing fee-for-service stuff. We have a whole host of clients across the country and really into other countries as well. And that's why when Mila was saying it's such a specialized relationship, because we work with the doctor so that she can really start to flesh out what the vision of her life wants to be. And it's outside of the practice, because whatever you're doing personally is going to affect how you show up at work. And so making sure that you are, taking care of the 6 areas of your life, your emotions, your physical, your spiritual, obviously your career and your finances and your relationships. And that's both personal and professional. And when those are all in better balance, you'll be able to find that you can achieve your vision a lot quicker. And everyone around you as well, their lives will be enriched and enhanced too, which is really the whole goal of, I think, why we're here.
Maybe Dr. Alusi has this, or I know a lot of other people have a lot of ideas about how they want their dream practice. Maybe somebody starting out, how would you advise them to start putting their visions down on paper, on journal? How would you advise them to start making this real?
Is that to me, Todd?
Whoever wants to take it.
Well,
I'll say something really quickly. One thing I really love is a vision board.
Exactly.
Because I think that, nowadays technology is awesome, but I think it has a limit as far as creativity goes. And I think you really have to let your creativity burst through the seams when you're thinking about your vision. And so I usually recommend to my clients, if you don't have something that rolls off your tongue that you already know exactly what your vision is, that can be really helpful. Just get out the colored pens and pencils and cut out photos that inspire you, and think of words that are empowering for you. And, even like lines from a song that you really resonate with, whatever makes your heart swell can go on there. And then the more that you look at it and start to really then break it down, you can then start to create a vision statement. But I think that's a good place to start, but I'll stop there. So
and I'm going to just kind of piggyback on that one with Gerilyn. And she's right. I was about to say vision board, best thing on the planet, probably the best thing. But when you're putting down your vision, and I want to make a little distinction here for you, your vision is what you're aspiring to be, okay? Where you want to be 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line. Whatever the vision is that you decide for yourself, let it be something that's timeless, that gives you purpose, that has some measurable result. Your mission statement might possibly change, which is why it's really great to have a coach along the way. Because the path at which you might change, maybe I'm deciding that this is, this isn't quite the direction I want to go in, but I still have this vision. Your coach will keep you accountable to your vision and will help you to make the changes that you might need to make in order to get the results that you're looking for. So don't be so locked into the mission necessarily, but definitely take your time to get that wonderful, warm feeling about what your vision will be for your practice.
Awesome. I got a question here, and it's from kind of under the table from my wife, who happens to be here. She asked, what advice would you give to those minority women who are just now starting out in the dental field that are facing the challenges that you all faced when you were starting out? She's only been in the country for 5 years. She's from Colombia, and she started the dental field this year. And so she's excited about it, but I know she has a lot of challenges. What kind of advice would you give someone like her?
I would say don't try so hard to fit in. You have a lot to bring to the table, being you. Bring that to the table. Use that as your strength. Use that as your magic. Because I am a minority, I feel like I can relate to people very well. I am not stuck in my own thoughts. I understand people have multiple backgrounds, and the way they behave in my chair is reflective of their backgrounds. So as a dentist, I feel that that's my strength. That's my superpower. I'm very empathetic.
Love it.
And so I think with her, Colombians are very warm people. Use that.
Awesome. Anybody else? All right. Well, I'm going to ask a question that's been brought up to me, and obviously this has been brought up to me as a coach before, and maybe I didn't know the best answer for it. So I'm going to ask you guys, my fellow coaches, if somebody calls you and they maybe an accent, or they know that you're a female, or they know that you're African American, and they hang up the phone, how do you that's why deep down, and you get that kind of urge or kind of upset, how do you get yourself out of that? Get yourself back to your peak performance? How do you let those type of things that you face as a minority, how do you get rid of that, or how do you regroup?
Let it roll off.
Yeah, really, first of all, reality check. Okay,
Yeah.
What exactly happened? Okay. For me, those types of moments are really freaking amusing. They really are.
Mhm.
It's not a statement about me.
They make me laugh.
Did you see what I mean? It's just like,
Yeah.
I have to say, being born in the early 60s, I'm a tail end baby boomer. That kind of stuff would happen it was a daily thing. Okay. But you let this stuff roll off of your shoulders. It isn't a testament to who you are. And as I said before, your self-esteem is your own. No one can define that, And, I apologize that happened to you. And I'm sure it's disconcerting, but when someone doesn't have a relationship with you and is not in rapport with you, it certainly isn't personal. And that's what you have to remember. It's more testament to this person's limiting belief about what he or she might believe might be at the other end of that phone. And one day they will have to walk into that practice with a toothache, And then let's see let's see what kind of a communication you have at that point. I mean, it's just what it is,
Yeah.
Well, I think the other thing we always have to remember is that we never know everybody's story.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned through the years that when you would have an upset with somebody, that I started to, as I got more mature, I would start to take the tack of, maybe instead of me getting hurt or irritated or my nose put out of joint by someone else's, what I may consider boorish actions, maybe I should take the tack of, I don't know what else is going on in their life. Maybe they just found out that they were diagnosed with a deadly disease, or they're dealing with stressors in their family life, or like, you never know everybody's backstory. So if you come from the perspective of that people come from, as Mila was saying before, with the best intentions, giving them the benefit of the doubt. And then, if someone continues to prove that, you just are never going to be in rapport with them, then you just have to say, some will, some won't. So what next?
Exactly.
As a Hiba, you probably deal with this too. As a dentist, I was lucky when I got to the point where I could choose whom I wanted to treat. And, the only way I would ever discriminate was if someone was rude to my team. They were almost never rude to me because I was the scary lady with the sharp instruments and the drill. But, if someone was ever not respectful to my team or was not respectful of our time, that was reason to be dismissed from my practice. But that was it. And luckily it didn't happen. Like, I don't even think I could count on one hand the number of times I had to dismiss somebody. But it's the same in what I do now as a coach. I choose not to work with every dentist who may ask to work with me, because I want to get joy out of what I'm doing. And I gain a lot of joy from the relationships I'm building doing this. Like, I love what I'm doing, and I'm loving seeing the changes in my clients and knowing that I'm having a positive effect on them and their teams, which means also all the lives that they all touch and their patients are having better experiences. So it's a great ripple effect. And I can't do that if I'm constantly, there's a difference between discord and, just having a little bit of friction. Like, you need a little friction. You need to have somebody kind of bump up against you every now and then. But I don't want to be trying to have a relationship with somebody where it's not coming both ways.
Not as coachable. I know I'm not a panelist here, but I've been in the same way. I love how you said that you can pick and choose who you want to work with, because it's the same. As a coach, we've all have our business background. We have to pick and choose who we coach, and work with those that are coachable and that can share that vision, that can build that vision.
Mm-hmm.
So another question we got, it just came in. It says, what is your recommendation during the pandemic, how we can have more patients? Dr. Abusaid, have you answer that one?
I think one of the things we kind of have to go back to why are people not coming in, and it's the fear of COVID. So one of the things is let them know what you're putting in place to help protect them and help to protect your staff. So the PPEs go through that with a guideline. Internal referrals, use the patients that you have to get more patients, reach into your patient base and let them know, we value people like you. If you could recommend us to some of your friends and family. So with those things, and then of course you go into that external marketing, but right now there are just a lot of factors. So focus on what the people are fearing right now, which is the fear of catching COVID in the dental office, and just let them know what precautions you're taking.
And I would say also take advantage of the fact that you have a little bit more time to spend with each of the patients who is coming in. Work on building those relationships, strengthening those. I'd be asking any patients that are comfortable doing video testimonials to do a quick 30-second video for you to say about how safe they felt in your office, that this was the safest place they felt in a month, and they were excited to get out of the house and come to the dentist. Like, when do we ever get to say that? But that's the reality of it. And, having those on your website, making sure that everything is updated with all the changes that you've made to protect all of the patients through this COVID period. Making sure that it's all out on your social media, getting really interactive with your tribe of your existing patients and letting it grow organically. Because I agree with Hiba that, usually internal referrals tend to be the best patients because they already, likes like. And so people tend to hang out with people that are similar, have similar values. And so if you've got patients whom you adore, absolutely be talking to them every time they're in. And you can also utilize the patients who are booked to ensure that you're doing as much as you possibly can on them during each visit. So if they have outstanding treatment, I would be having my admin team calling any patients who are already booked, if there's time in the schedule, to be able to expand what's being done in their appointment. Because the benefit to the patient is they may only have to come in once instead of 2 to 3 times, because there's so much uncertainty. We don't know that just because I have an appointment booked in 2 weeks, it's going to end up staying on the book, right? Something might happen in the dental office or something might happen with me personally. And so because of that, being able to provide your patients with better personalized care is the best way to just continue to grow your practice. And so work on, possibly growing your production numbers per day, your per visit value, rather than having to think about trying to bring in a bunch of strangers right now, because it is going to be a difficult time.
I just put in the chat box, so one of the offices that I manage, they did an amazing job of showing exactly what it's like going into their office. Everything from the temperatures to the spray they put on the feet. They did 30-second video. They did it themselves. It's nothing professional, and it has helped tremendously.
Yeah.
Just wanted to share that. I put their name. If you want to look them up on Facebook, you can see that video.
Okay. One of the things that one of my practices is doing is, yes, sure, it's been a little bit challenging with COVID, but what if you were to focus on turning these last couple of months of the year into a patient appreciation portion of your year? Your patients have been through a lot. Go through what I call the MVP list, the patients that have really shown that they valued and appreciated you. Bring them back in for a complimentary evaluation, maybe that cleaning that they were afraid they couldn't have over the last few months. Let them see, how much more has happened and what has changed over the past few months. Those are your highest referral basis. Two, you get an opportunity to give back to them for the love and support that they've shown you throughout all of the years. What most patients don't understand is one of the best ways to protect yourself from coronavirus is to have a healthy mouth. I mean, saliva is one of those things that actually kills viruses. Having a healthy mouth is one of the #1 ways that you can prevent yourself from being ill in the future. Extend your hands out to them, bring them back in. They are part of your family, part of your life. And then things happen organically. When you're doing good things always come. Got 2 months left of the year. Welcome them all back in.
It's something just on this, and I'm going to put my email. Anybody wants a copy of the letter that I'm about to talk about, you just send me an email. But our offices have been using, that we coach, have been using a letter just talking about the end of the year benefits. A lot of people don't realize that their benefits are going to end. And like you just said, there's less than 2 months in this year. So maybe even sending a message on Revenue Well or Opera DDS, or sending them an actual letter. Is what we've been really recommending too. Just letting them know that their dental benefits are going to end. That could be another way to get patients in there between now and December 31st. We're about out of time. I just wanted to see if there's any closing statements. Oh, wait, there's one more question I didn't get to. As a dentist, if I would want to work with a management company instead of doing clinical dentistry, what would be the best way to get started?
I'm just not clear on the question. Does this person not want to do dentistry anymore, was what I wasn't clear about.
Yeah, I think that maybe they're interested. Yeah, she doesn't want to do dentistry. Yeah, she's more interested in being in the management side. And obviously you probably want to go into the entrepreneurial background, but
I'd love to get more clarification as to what it is that this dentist is looking to do. And you could send me an email and I'd be more than happy to have that conversation with you. I'm not sure if you have a practice currently and you're looking to sell or what you're planning to do, but I would be more than happy to answer that question with you if I could get a bit more clarification as to what you would like to accomplish.
Yep, that would be great. Do you want to put your email in the chat box just so everybody has it? All right, we're coming up on time. That was great. It was wonderful. I know that there's a lot of people that are been on the call, but there's also going to be a lot of people viewing it over the next few days. And so I really appreciate each and every one of your time. If everyone want to make sure your emails are in there, if you want to contact any of the coaches, and also too, if you want to find out who the coach is in your area, you can send me an email. I'll get corporate to also reach out to you as well. Thank you everyone so much for attending. Thank you, panelists. I really appreciate it. Any closing statements?
Oh, it was wonderful. I hope you all found it helpful and something relatable.
Awesome.
Yeah, I was honored to be part of this great group, and I just want everyone to try to remain positive and know that there are people out there that will help. Just have to ask for it. And, Let's end the year strong, everybody. Thank you very much.
Wishing you all the very, very best, and know that these incredible times are only going to get better. And it was just a gift and a blessing to be able to share this with you today.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.